It's no secret that the new Super Mario Bros. Games are looked down upon by pretty much every Nintendo fan out there, being criticized for being unoriginal, formulaic, and releasing way too many of them. And with the recent release of Wonder, it's made these issues more apparent, as well as showing how lame these games look visually. However, I can't help but feel bad for the original new Super Mario Bros. On the DS. Personally, I believe it gets unfairly grouped with the rest of the games, as it has its own unique ideas that the rest of the series never really revisited. And that's why today I'm replaying it, in a fruitless attempt to show how much it really stands out from the rest of the series. Booting up the game, there are 3 main game modes. However, we'll just be focusing on the story mode because the mini-games are just shamelessly ported from Mario 64 DS, and I would love to talk about how great Mario vs. Luigi is, but my totally legit DS I am playing this game on cannot connect with another system for unknown reasons. Before starting a new game, I'm going to be inputting the secret Luigi code, because fuck playing as Mario in Mario games. It's like playing as a human in a fantasy game when there are so many more interesting options like humans with long ears, humans with animal ears, and humans that are short. Starting a new game, Luigi and Peach are out walking when suddenly the Greek god Zeus decides to play a prank on Peach's castle, and while Luigi goes off to investigate, Peach gets herself kidnapped by Bowser Jr., who just so happened to be nearby. One thing about this intro that I really like is that when Luigi chases after Bowser Jr., he actually gets hurt off screen and shrinks. It's a neat detail explaining why you start small that I don't believe any future game does. But anyway, Peach gets kidnapped. It's a story that everyone and their great-great-grandmother knows about. I mean, Bowser shows up as the boss of the first world, which is a pretty neat idea. Kind of similar how Sonic Mania has the Death Egg robot as the first boss of Dream Hill. Well, that's a grim introduction to Dry Bowser. So this is a 2D Mario game. I feel like I don't need to explain the basics, so I'll talk about the things specific to this game. First things first, the movement. This game's movement is strange, to say the least. It feels oddly floaty, and you retain a little too much momentum when stopping. It's not like it's hard to work around it, but it definitely feels off from the rest of 2D Mario, especially when the rest of the new Super Mario Bros. Games use this movement system. Onto something I'm more on board with, the triple jump and ground pound from the 3D games make their 2D debut in this game. The triple jump specifically is such a natural fit for 2D Mario that I'm surprised Wonder went and removed it. The closest thing we have to it now is the time jump badge. On to power-ups, we have the standard Super Mushroom, Fire Flower, and Star, which almost always appear in these games. But this game has 3 brand new power-ups. It seems natural to start with the power-up that's in the box, the Mega Mushroom. This power-up causes Luigi to become enormous and destroy everything in his path. However, it has a fairly short time limit and it almost never appears in levels. You can get Sword Reserve from a Toad House or find it in these flying red blocks, but using those methods really show that the level has to be built around it in order to function properly. At least it's very funny to use against bosses. If being large and in charge isn't your style, there's always the Mini Mushroom, which makes you really small, dies in a single hit, doesn't let you hurt enemies until you ground pound, and generally sucks. Why would you ever use it? Oh yeah, you can go through small crevices, walk on water, and jump real high. But yeah, you should really only use this power-up if you really need it. The final power-up is the Blue Shell, and it seems like you either really love it or you really hate it. The people who hate it say that automatically going into the shell when running is annoying, but personally I think it's not a big deal at all. Then again, I'm firmly in the love it camp. This power-up kicks ass. It increases swimming speed, allows you to spin through enemies, destroy blocks from the side, and doesn't get replaced if you grab a Fire Flower.
However, like the Mega Mushroom, this power-up is extremely rare and only appears from Toad Houses and these flying red blocks, so you better hold on to that shell for as long as you can.
And that's all the new power-ups. Overall, kind of a mixed bag considering the fact that the new power-ups either have a time limit, are not ideal to use most of the time, or rarely show up, so you'll be rocking the Fire Flower most of the time. The levels are pretty solid. Since it was before the world themes of grass, desert, beach, forest, ice, mountains, clouds, and lava got old, they don't feel underwhelming to play, and it's not just the novelty of the world themes that make the levels more enjoyable, as there are a few cool ideas that make this game stick out. There is a sewer level with a maze-like design without making it feel aimless, a homage to the Pipe Tower level in Mario 3, a level with a giant wiggler and stars that make you leave a trail of coins behind you, and many more. If I had to pick one world as my personal favorite, I'd have to say World 2 fits that bill, which is surprising because desert levels aren't typically regarded very well in platformers. It starts with this level built around jumping over pokies, and then a grassland filled with lucky tubes to throw you off, followed by the sewer level I mentioned earlier. If you go to the secret exit, you go to an oasis built around these propeller launchers, which act as a precursor to the propeller mushroom, and for the normal exit, there's a level all about terraforming parts of the level. Halfway through is the fortress with these rotating platforms that are completely unique to this stage. After that is the return of the living blocks from Mario 3, but in order to defeat them, you need to ground pound them, although letting them live can give you a chance to gain height to collect out-of-reach goodies. The second to last level has you riding this platform that piranha plants will be placed on and off of, and ends with you launching one off a cork, blocking the pipe to the goal flag. And to end it all off, the castle has two distinct parts: an indoors area where you avoid spiked orbs rolling around, and an outside area that brings back the terraforming mechanic from a few stages ago in a new and interesting way. Let's talk about the collectibles, the star coins. Every level has 3 star coins scattered throughout the level. Some are in plain view and will require you to do some sort of platforming challenge, and some are hidden in secret areas. But why would you collect these things? If you ask the later new Super Mario Bros. Games, they'd all raise their arms and go, I don't know. However, this game actually uses the star coins to unlock alternate levels or toad houses, and having a use for these collectibles throughout the entire main story gives a solid incentive to collect them, and it's kinda weird how the sequels just limited their usefulness to the final secret worlds. The music in this game is real solid. Most of the level themes are pretty standard, but the world themes are the real highlight here. Take a listen. Oh my god, speaking of music, I just realized I've gone on for 6.5 minutes and I haven't even talked about one of the most iconic things about this series. The bars in the music that caused the Koopas to dance, like in that one TikTok trend a year ago. Yeah, since the Koopas in this game are sprites, they didn't bother creating sprites of them dancing, so they kinda just awkwardly faced the camera instead. The newer games definitely improved on this aspect of the series. Now, if there's just one thing that can sell you on the idea that this game is far more original than the rest of the new Super Mario Bros. Games, it's the bosses. With the exception of the Bowser family, all the bosses are wildly different from each other. We got a mummified Pokey for World 2, a Lakitu with lightning powers in World 7, a version of Petey Piranha that has been redesigned for 2D Mario in World 5, and a motherfucking tank piloted by a Monty Mole in World 6. Now, if you look at the map screen, you notice that Worlds 4 and 7 are on dotted lines. But there aren't any secret exits in the castles, so how do you access those worlds? Well, in the cutscene after the World 2 and 5 bosses, there's a tiny hole in the floor next to the sign telling you what world is next. And if you manage to beat the bosses of those worlds well in the mini-state for the whole fight, which is pretty fucking tedious if you die over and over again, or by saving a mini mushroom in reserve until the final hit, in the cutscene, Luigi will fall into the hole, turning the sign around, thus leading you to the alternate world instead. One thing I really enjoy is how the fights with Bowser Jr. evolve throughout the game. He's always the boss for a fortress, so it can get repetitive, especially for the world of 2 fortresses. At first it's the standard jump on him 3 times deal, but it does get harder when the arena changes with each battle, and with Jr. starting to hide in his shell when you try to jump on him, forcing you to throw shells at him back to make him vulnerable. And every time you beat him, he manages to pick himself back up and run off to the world's castle with Peach. And after doing that song and dance for 5 to 7 worlds, you reach the final world, World 8. And one of my favorite aspects about this world is that it doesn't start out as a lava world. The first few levels are actually in this wasteland theme, and the boss in the castle is Dry Bowser. Remember how he came into existence? Thankfully there's no lava here, so it's not like we're gonna see Dry Bowser. And after this boss fight, the world expands, more than doubling the level count in World 8, where the lava theme finally shows up in all its glory, and after beating Bowser Jr. in the second fortress, we reach the final level, Bowser's Castle. This is one of my favorite final levels in the Mario series. It's built around this gimmick where you hit these switches which flips the entire level upside down, and now you're walking on what was originally the ceiling. And this also shifts the position of the enemies as well, making for an incredibly memorable challenge for the final boss. Here, Bowser Jr. performs forbidden dark magic to revive Bowser, and they both challenge Luigi at the same time. It doesn't work. And with Bowser Jr. and his recently revived father defeated, the game is finished and the credits play with a picture book of every level, featuring Mario instead of Luigi, which I interpret as Mario getting the news that Peach got kidnapped really late and this is just him catching up to Luigi. As the credits end, there's a small post-credit scene where Bowser Jr. yaps at the camera and the game reveals the secret Luigi code that I already knew about on the bottom screen. Fun fact, as a kid it took me like 3 or so times to beat the final level to realize that was supposed to tell you how to play as Luigi. I actually found the code through a cheat code book I got through one of those book fairs. Remember those? Or is that just something that nobody really does anymore and makes me feel more and more like a fossil despite being in my early 20s? And that's New Super Mario Bros. Overall, a well-rounded experience with a lot to love about it. Obviously, that's not everything the game has to offer. There's the other game modes, Mario vs. Luigi and the minigames, the level design in general. Hell, I didn't even bring up some of the weird and memorable enemies this game features. But I do want to keep this video fairly short so I can have some more time to focus on the next part of my Final Fantasy X review, so, go check that out pretty please. Bye!